Savior of humanity. Unto us a child is born, he shall reign forevermore. Noel, Noel, come and see what God has done. Noel, Noel, the story of amazing love, the light of the world, given for us. Noel, Son of God and Son of Man, there before the world began. Born to suffer, born to save, born to raise us from the grave. Christ the everlasting Lord, he shall reign forevermore. Noel, Noel, come and see what God has done. Noel, Noel, the story of amazing love, the light of the world, given for us. Noel. Noel, Noel, come and see what God has done. Noel, Noel, the story of amazing love, the light of the world, given for us. Noel, Noel.
Advent is an anticipation, and we have the privilege of joining together for the next 4 weeks as we anticipate the culmination of this event, Christmas Eve, the coming of Jesus Christ. Christians all over the world anticipate the hope that is here. And speaking of hope, that's the first candle of Advent, the hope of Christ. And in order to truly appreciate the hope that God gives, we've got to start all the way at the beginning. And so today I'm going to share a story about a couple, not Joseph, not Mary, but even prior to that of the Christmas story. And it's an individual, a priest named Zechariah. And he has a wife, Elizabeth. And Zechariah was a part of the priestly order, and Zechariah was a righteous man. And I say that because you might say, well, Terry, priests are always righteous. Well, actually, the priestly order had a little bit of a stigma attached to them. They were, if you'd call it, an aristocracy. They were sometimes considered above regular people like you and I. They had their lives all together. They had no mess whatsoever. However, Zechariah carried a burden. You see, Zechariah and Elizabeth tried for many, many years to be able to have a child, and they were childless. And back during that time, it carried a stigma attached to them because something must have been wrong with the two of them. Something must have been wrong with Elizabeth. Something must have been wrong with Zechariah. And Zechariah being a part of the aristocracy, a part of the priests, a part of these people have their act together. You can imagine in their smaller circle the judgments that were coming. What kind of hidden shame do they carry? You know, I kind of think this Christmas season, you, myself, and many others, we carry burdens. Sometimes they weigh us down. And Zechariah would have been weighed down. In fact, let's take a look at the introduction of this couple. And let's take a look at Luke chapter 1, beginning in verse 5. It says, when Herod was king of Judea, there was a Jewish priest named Zechariah. He was a member of the priestly order of Abijah. And his wife, Elizabeth, was also from the priestly line of Aaron. Zechariah and Elizabeth were righteous in God's eyes, careful to obey all of the Lord's commandments and regulations. They had no children because Elizabeth was unable to conceive, and they were both very old. When we think about this, you have to begin to think of the hope that Zechariah and Elizabeth had that maybe one day God would hear their prayer. Maybe one day that God would answer their prayer. And we know that they were prayerful people. We know that Zechariah and Elizabeth cried out to God each and every week, asking for God to bless them with the gift of a child. How do I know that? It says, because in that passage I just read, it said that Zechariah and Elizabeth were righteous in God's eyes. And in commentaries you would read, the reason why they were righteous is because they truly had hearts for God and for His purpose and His plan. They didn't care about what their peers thought. They didn't care that their peers judged them, shamed them. They cared about the fact that God was with them. And so over time they continued to cry out to God, hoping that God would answer their prayer. We pick up the story in Luke chapter 1, verse 11, and it says, while Zechariah was in the sanctuary, an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing to the right of the incense altar. Zechariah was shaken and overwhelmed with fear when he saw him, but the angel said, don't be afraid, Zechariah. God has heard your prayer. Your wife Elizabeth will give you a son, and you are to name him John. We see right off the bat that Zechariah is chosen by Lot, which was an amazing opportunity for him that hardly any other priest got the opportunity to go in and to light the incense. And so Zechariah goes in and he lights, and an angel appears. And what I love about that is he says, God has answered your prayer. And what you need to know about that language is this, that God has fulfilled that request. That no longer, Zechariah, no longer, Elizabeth, will you have to live with the shame, with the burden, because God has heard your prayer, and you will not have to pray that specific prayer any longer, because hope has come to your house today. As we enter into this Christmas season, I have a question for you. What are you hoping for today? What are you longing for today? What have you given up on today? In order for us to truly anticipate the power of Christmas, in order for us to truly capture the essence, the amazing miracle of Christmas, we have to live a life of expectancy. We have to trust that God hears our prayer. We have to hope when there is no hope, because our God truly is with us. And so today, what a beautiful opportunity for us to join together and to trust in the candle of hope, the hope that God has brought into the world. This week, may we be hopeful for all that's to come. God bless you.